Hello and welcome from Berlin, and in this video I'm going to show you where Hitler's Chancellery was and what a big building it was too. But first, a little bit of location. So this here is Vossstraße and this is Ebertstraße, this road along here, formerly called Hermann Göring Straße. And you see where this building is here, just behind the front of that was where the wall was. So that building is what, a few centimeters inside former East Germany. If we go down there, we've got the Brandenburg Gate on the right hand side, we've got the monument to the Holocaust, and if I turn around here we've got Potsdamer Platz. Now I remember being here in the 80s, this was all the dead zone of East Germany, and there was a place at Potsdamer Platz that sort of stuck out like a triangle into West Berlin, and the wall was put behind it, but there were big warnings up not to go into it as it was East German territory and something unpleasant could potentially happen to you if you actually went there. So look at that, from being a wasteland, literally. But there was a place on the west, there was two places on the western side where you could actually go up the stairs and have a look over into the east. Anyway, so now I'll come back into 1930s time, and so the Hitler's new chancellery began here, and there's a photograph showing it from 1939, I think. Now, the German Reich had a government building. A chancellery was on Wilhelmstrasse, which is down here, and Hitler decided that it was all right for a soap company, but it wasn't good enough for him. What he wanted was something that would absolutely show off the might of his Reich, and so therefore he wanted a big, enormous palace in which he could then amaze foreign delegations. For example, here we have the embassy of the Republic of Singapore. Well, Singapore was then part of the British Empire, so no Singaporeans would have been round, but there would have been other people round. Now, what he did, therefore, he commissioned Albert Speer, who had already shown himself to be quite good at designing things, and he got the job of putting the new chancellery together in 1 year. To be quite honest, that's pretty ridiculous as far as time limits go, but nonetheless Albert Speer actually did it within the time limit, as he proudly says in his autobiography, Inside the Third Reich. But I think it's been a while since I read it. I don't think he actually mentions the fact that other people had already worked on the project. So parts of the project, the architectural plans, had been done in 1935. So it wasn't entirely from scratch. So of course all the building work and all the rest of it. I mean, even today to do something like that in 1 year would be an amazing feat. So given the technology that existed, credit where credit's due. The kitting out of it, the putting all the fittings and all the rest of it, that took far more time, but all the same the work was largely done by January of 1939. Now I'm going to show something here. These buildings here were started in 1986, so they were started when this was still the dead zone, so to speak. Now I can't remember how many walls there were here. There had been one at the bottom of the street where I started off walking. There was normally a mesh wall, and then there would have been another sort of fence along here. Now I can recall being unter den Linden in 1980 82, 83, and several other times, and you could actually see from Unter den Linden into the west. Now, but these people here would have had a really good view. Now, as I understand it, this was for the privileged of East Germany, and it's a communist country, highly corrupt, and there would have been lots of people who had the privileges and no doubt thought it was a big pity when they lost those privileges. But as you can see, this housing block, this housing unit here is quite large. Now, part of Hitler's aim, to go back to the Nazis, was that when he wanted people to be sort of not only to be really amazed at what they saw, but also to feel as though he was really dominant and the person in charge. So he ordered highly polished floors, and he said in a joking manner to Speer that he wanted these foreign gentlemen to be slithering and sliding all over the place as they were visiting him. Now, the length of the new Chancellery is approximately 1,200 meters, something along those lines. Now, along this street here, Gertrude Kolmarstrasse, the bunker is down there. Here we have welcome to Berlin's most attractive shopping mall. I can't remember that being here the last time I was here. It might have been, I just don't remember it being here. Now, you see this housing block here though it really is pretty big by considering where it was. I think it was finished in 1989, just in time for the wall to come down and to get a great look at the festivities that were held then. Now, Hitler lived in the old Chancellery. So the old one was sort of stuck onto the new one, rather the new one was stuck onto the old one, but the new one was much bigger than the old one. And the government quarter of the Prussian state is roughly in this area here. So this is Wilhelmstrasse, and so we find buildings which go back to the 19th century, for example, where buildings from the 19th or even 18th century were the Radziwiłł Palace was the old Chancery, Radziwiłł being a Polish count, and from the 18th and 19th centuries. So this now Wilhelmstrasse, this is the government quarter. Now obviously there's not much that survived the Second World War. In recent years they haven't really done much to put things together again, except for this statue found its way back up there, and that's of a Prussian field marshal. Right, that place there, Terrace Restaurant Grill, that's normally where I go for falafel and chips when I'm here. Now let's have a also got these things here, these very interesting sort of, they put signs for what actually was once here. So I think that's quite relevant. Let's come a bit further down here. Now, so the government buildings, the Chancellery was here on the left, and on the right we had the propaganda ministry, the culture ministry of Joseph Goebbels. And one of the ways that Goebbels got control over the press was to make everybody had to become a member of his organization, and if you didn't toe the line, then you would be kicked out of his organization. The propaganda ministry was over there. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to turn in here left, 27 degrees, and the Colonnade, and we'll walk down here. So you see how big this is. housing project. Yeah, I'll walk down the middle of the road. I don't like it when people can sort of hear what I'm talking about. I don't mind sticking it up on the internet, but I find when people are listening to me, it sort of puts me off a bit what I've got to say. Oh, and to my right was the building beforehand. In 1878, when Bismarck chaired the Congress of Berlin, where the European countries divided up Africa, that was held in a building over to the right. And one of the things I'd have to say is that, in my opinion, this Congress of Berlin, the way the European countries divided up Africa has led to many of the problems, if not just about all of the problems in Africa today, are a direct result of what the Europeans did to them. So whereas I talk about communist and Nazi crimes, but I think we also need to remember the crimes committed by other Western European countries and the results, which are long term for people living in Africa today. Now, in 1943, with more and more air raids happening, Hitler got frightened and a bunker was built in his back garden, and that bunker was here in this location. And as you can see, it does attract people now. You can even get a cup of tea here. But so the Führer bunker, the pictures that you've seen of it, the pictures, I've done videos, for example, talking about what happened to Hitler's body, where it ended up. And so it was buried in here the first time, before ending up 25 years later in a stream outside of Magdeburg. But this is, East German from the late 80s. So, and I think where I shall conclude this little walk is down here, and this is the logical place. Hitler's grand aim, in my opinion, was his strong belief in the conspiracy theories, anti-Jewish conspiracy theories, which led to the Holocaust. And down here we've got this enormous square where the murdered Jews of Europe are remembered, and opinions of the memorial may be mixed. I'm not very artistic, so I don't know what to say on it, but these blocks, but I think the blocks, in a way, looking at it now, you do something, well, what does all that mean and what's all that for? And I think that is the idea, is that people will challenge and question what it's there for and why it even had to happen. And so I think from that point of view it's quite good. Now, one of the things they have to do in Poland is they put the names of the places. So if you've got a Treblinka, for example, you've got the names of the places where the victims came from, and they haven't done this here, and I think there's a good reason for it. It's the idea that you have to you either put them all down or you put none of them down, and that is it's very strong. I was at a conference for Sobibor, future of Sobibor. It's around 2008, and there Toiva Blatt, who I lived with, who escaped from Sobibor, or his family were murdered there in 1943, and his idea was he said you either put everybody's name there we put nobody's name there. There had been some people that started remembering the victims by putting up stones with the victims' names on, but these were taken away. So it's either everybody's goes up or nobody's goes up. So that's it. That's this little walk around. You can see down there, in front of me down there, that's the Reichstag building. So in the site of the Reichstag, we've got this enormous memorial to the Jewish people who were killed. We've got the American embassy there, British embassy I think is just behind it. Next to the Reichstag is the, almost next is the Brandenburg Gate. So, I hope you found it interesting. Thanks so much for watching. I've got a lot more stuff related to the Second World War and both the Nazi and Communist periods. So if you want to see that, then please subscribe. But for the moment, from me in Berlin, thanks so much for watching and all the best.